We don't always get treated to two heavyweights swinging their best punches back and forth in a first-round playoff game, but when we do, it looks a lot like Game 2 between the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. While it looked for a while like Denver was going to cruise to an easy victory, Minnesota was able to duck and cover and respond with a few jabs of their own to lead to a 10th round knockout. The opening round featured Jamal Murray's individual brilliance as he scored a game-high 11 points in 10 minutes as they targeted Rudy Gobert with the inverted point guard for center pick and roll. Denver doesn't want to switch this, but asking Jaden McDaniels to stop the ball and then close out one pass away is simply not possible as Murray hits the first of his 6 threes in this game. The Nuggets rank second in sideline out of bounds efficiency in the regular season, in part because they run very good sets not just to get the ball in bounds, but to score out of them. Christian Braun runs a simple get action with Jokic designed to get him a catch at full speed going downhill. The secondary benefit is that it forces a switch and a severe mismatch with Anthony Edwards having to guard Nikola Jokic. Murray knows if he replaces to the right wing by running near the ball, it could very well lure the foolish help from one pass away, and Murray also knows Jokic will deliver the ball on time and on target so he can quick release this with the hop. Ayo Dosunmu actually got spun around and then took a bad angle that led to a 4-point play when he pushed his contest through the wrist of Murray, not his hand, which would have been illegal as a high-five play. One of the best parts of the Nuggets offense is they can organically get movement with the simple act of passing the ball to Jokic in the high post. Watch how both Jokic and Braun want to clear Spencer Jones out of the right corner. Braun then sets a screen to guarantee Jokic is open to receive the high post entry. Now, he's been running two-man game with Murray for years, so a simple dribble towards the top triggers the handoff, and the V-cut gets Ayo trailing just enough for a clean catch. Ayo's path takes him just a little too close for comfort for the ref, even though I'm not sure there really was much, if any, contact to the leg, as we see the ref motion how the foul occurred. But you don't score a whopping 39 points in the quarter without some severe defensive mistakes, and Julius Randle had a couple. In the very basic version of Denver's offense, Aaron Gordon enters the high post and gets a back screen. There is no verbal communication between Donte DiVincenzo and Randle, but it should be obvious at this point that they must switch. So it makes little sense to see Randle continue running over to the ball, and it allows Braun a free pass to the rim, gorgeous no-look from Gordon, and you can see frustration mounting between teammates already. Transition was killing the Wolves as well, and with Randle in good position to get back from out top when the, shall we say, unwise shot from Rudy goes up, Randle fails to realize that DiVincenzo is already on Gordon. There is no one else for him to pick up other than Braun streaking to the basket. You could argue Edwards should have stuck with him here, but Randle's in a much better position and ends up being late to the party. Now, this might be the way the coaching staff wants to rotate on the Murray-Jokic pick and roll, but the way I see it, Rudy is the one dropping to contain, and there is simply no version of sound defensive principles that has a defender of a player in a dunker spot rotating across the court to stop the ball like this. There's a reason that position is called the dunker spot, and Aaron Gordon reminds us why. The second quarter saw an exact mirror of the first in terms of points, and Anthony Edwards was the catalyst with 13 of them on his own. As the Wolves try to gain an advantage with Princeton action, they catch Hardaway Jr. and Murray screwing up the switch on the basket cut, leaving McDaniels wide open, but Donte can't get it there. This does clear the side out for Ant to go to work, jab on the catch, lunge, tween, float, dip, step back, splash in THJ's face. This move got me excited as a simple step-up screen gets a smaller defender on Edwards, but the Nuggets do well to bring Jonas Valanciunas over to double and get it out of his hands. However, he gets faked in the air, drifts too far, and now we get a totally legal one-footed step-through. We see the Nuggets bench begin to signal for a travel, but then I'm sure they remembered you're allowed to lift your pivot foot so long as you shoot or pass before it comes back down. This rule is true for all levels of basketball, and it can be a great advantage as Ant displays here. He establishes his left foot as a pivot, then steps onto the non-pivot foot. This is not switching pivot feet, people. This is simply lifting the pivot off the floor, jumping, then shooting. Beautiful. With so many stars on the court, there are a lot of X factors to choose from for each game going forward, and that's when playing Prize Picks can be so much fun, where all you do is pick more or less in a variety of stats for your favorite players. Here's my flex play for tonight with everyone going higher than the numbers, and LeBron being the one wild card since they already got that first win short-handed. Prize Picks has flex play, so you don't need to nail every one of your picks to win money, and you can also mix and match sports. And with the brand new Team Picks market, you can now pick game winners, spreads, and totals on top of the player picks you already know. So cash in if you're right during all the clutch buckets, slam dunks, and Cinderellas this spring with Team Picks on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and pick your first game winner, spread, or total as the playoff push rolls on. And get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup when you use code CLNS. Prize Picks. The modern game utilizes plays that were developed back in the 1920s, like get action, where a passer follows it back for a handoff. This acts like a faster pick and roll and gets Edwards an immediate advantage to cross Jokic over, and despite the excellent walling off by Gordon, check how Ant goes left, right, and jumps off both feet for a powerful finish off two. So this possession is a little strange from a defensive standpoint. They're in a zone, which is why Cameron Johnson bumps Murray out of there on the left wing. However, the Wolves completely missed DiVincenzo cutting underneath. Now, Murray shifts into a man-to-man as he chases McDaniels on his cut. Because he vacated the guard spot in the zone, Johnson has to split the difference between the wing and the corner. Edwards smartly moves farther up to put Johnson in an impossible situation, and he gets an easy catch and shoot that regains the lead for the Wolves. These were Nikola Jokic's numbers at halftime, and I wanted to see what effect Rudy had on him being limited so severely in the scoring department. Here's great hustle to steal the ill-advised pass from Murray to Jokic. He also did a nice job to contest this pass and force Jokic to throw it out of bounds. But this is what Coach Finch needs to explore on purpose. This handoff unintentionally forces the switch of McDaniels onto Jokic, but watch what it does. It lures Jokic into a multi-dribble isolation and allows Rudy to roam on the backside. While this does lead to an open shot, I think there's a lot of mileage they can get from matching up like this. He hustles back nicely on this roll pass to thwart the Jokic trademark floater, and his presence at the restricted area causes Gordon to break off his drive and take a tough contested midi. Not clear what this move is, must be French. Jokic continued to be stymied by the Stifle Tower as they began the second half going right at him on the left block with a cross screen that got Jokic some space, but the good contest forces the miss. Instead of Rudy sinking back in the lane on this drive, the Wolves rotate Dante over to the block, which allows Gobert to stick with Jokic on the strong side, eliminating a possibility of him scoring, even if Cam Johnson gets a pretty good look from three. He guards this 2-on-1 perfectly, with a little help from DiVincenzo, and is able to corral this bad Jokic pass into a steal. So it should come as no surprise that Jokic detonates the moment Rudy goes up with his legit foul call going for the low post entry pass for his fourth infraction on the night. The high post split is defended well when McDaniels shoots the gap and sticks like glue to Murray, but Naz Reid gets put into the weight room on this drive to the block that Rudy probably doesn't give up. They move to pistol action, which allows Murray to get downhill after receiving the handoff for a step on McDaniels, then inside ball screen, which gets him a two-step advantage, and more importantly, forces Naz to contain the ball as well. The simple kickback gets a good look he can knock down. This out-of-bounds play is very simple. Clear out the entire side and let their two best players go to work. There really isn't a way to guard this other than to switch, and that just gives Jokic an overpowering advantage that leads to a post-up, drop step, and finish through contact before Reid can get there to double. Here's that same concept we saw earlier where they used Brown to set a pin down to ensure Jokic gets open to the top of the key. You gotta love the absolutely old school sweeping hook with the left hand, making this look like a driveway battle between father and son. Let's head to crunch time, where it kind of felt like the Nuggets were going to get control as Randle again messes up transition defense. McDaniels is clearly picking up Gordon in the backcourt, yet Randle hovers as if he's going to guard him just long enough to be late to close to Brown, who gets an inexcusable dunk after a made free throw. The focus of Denver's defense was to show an extra defender to Edwards and make anyone else make a play. This is Spain pick and roll as DiVincenzo backscreens Jokic before popping out, and it allows Rudy a free run to the basket when Murray must close to the shooter. Rudy's struggles at the rim are well documented, but give him credit for sticking with it and then setting a good ball screen that allows Randle to bully Jokic to the rim for the little lefty leaner. At this point, the pace of this game clearly started wearing on the Nuggets. This isn't a bad shot exactly, but because Jokic's momentum was going away from the basket on the catch, he seemed unable to redirect his energy back towards the hoop, shooting this uncontested three about 2 feet short. More fatigue as McDaniels' harassment is very real on Murray, and their vaunted two-man game looked like it wasn't going to work. But Jokic rejects the screen to the left, gets right to the rim, and Rudy is allowed to get his bent arm into the midsection of Jokic with some amount of leverage that causes him to not only miss the layup but go to the ground. This created a 5-on-4 the other way, and I don't understand what Tim Hardaway Jr. is doing here. McDaniels is clearly his man, so why is he just ignoring the cut to randomly pick up the ball that was already being guarded by Murray? Easy pass, easy shot, and now the momentum is firmly on Minnie's side. This directly leads to the big matchup, Jokic versus Gobert, Serbia versus France, if you will. And while I suggested guarding Jokic with the power forward and letting Rudy roam, in crunch time, this is why you have him on your team. Now, he didn't do a great job of keeping Jokic from getting to the front of the rim, and this is more of a fatigue miss than anything the defense did to the best player in the league. And somehow, the ball bouncing off of Rudy's stiff hands ends up catching the Nuggets out of position and allowing the fastest of fast breaks, and now the Wolves are in the captain's seat. More great defense by Rudy as the Nuggets try to take advantage down low, and Jokic looks completely flustered and can't get the jump hook to fall over Rudy's contest. I think Jokic was so frustrated at this point that he risked it all, absorbing a little contact from Rudy's shoulder into his chest, but you can see him grab Gobert on the way down as if to embellish the contact before falling to the floor. So, was there contact? Yeah. Was it enough to send him to the floor like this? I don't think so. Does this type of contact happen often? On every play. Only the trail ref felt like it was a foul, and now the Nuggets have a chance. But it's almost like the basketball gods wanted to right a wrong. For on the next play, after Edwards couldn't score on the ISO on Gordon, Rudy is able to pin Jokic in place, hold him off on the jump, and then slam it down on Jokic's head to extend the lead to 4. Murray was definitely tired as he was able to attack the closeout, but he ends up with an off-foot floater, which I know he can make, especially when it's this open, but it felt to me like the fatigue led to this footwork and he blows it by shooting it several inches short. Now it's the Wolves' turn to target Murray on defense by forcing him onto Edwards. It makes sense to double Ant and get it out of his hands here, but only if the rest of the team is in position and ready to rotate. Hardaway is not ready, as his man cuts through and he's not alert to the fact that DiVincenzo is popping out wide open from 3, extending the lead to 4. Time and again, we've seen the Jokic-Murray inverted pick and roll work wonders, and I thought we'd see its magic work one more time. Rudy goes under, but McDaniels basically screens his own man, allowing the half step that Jokic needed to go up and just smosh this on Rudy's head. Edwards craps the bed in the next possession by traveling so egregiously, the refs had no choice but to blow the whistle. They call the pivot foot slide a lot in the NBA, and you can see how he takes a whole step with that left foot pivot before releasing the ball into the dribble. Easy and crucial call. And that leaves us with a little controversy. Should Jokic have passed this ball? His floater game is elite, and while Murray lured Rudy out on the perimeter and opened up the pocket pass, Ant rotated over perfectly and just about stole this pass. But I don't think Edwards is blocking Jokic's floater. Instead, it's up to Brown to make both free throws to tie the game. However, he chokes the first, and when they get it back down 3, the only explanation I have for this terrible long 2-point shot from Murray is exhaustion. It's one of the lowest percentage shots you could take, especially when there was plenty of time on the clock to either hunt for a layup or open 3, and that ended the game, allowing the Wolves to tie this series heading back to Minnesota with all the momentum.